What's going on, Lakers fans, and welcome into episode 48 of the Lake Show Flow. I am your host, Gio, as the Lakers officially clinch the third seed in the Western Conference, destroying the Houston Rockets 140-109. Before I get into the game, though, I just want to say, if you're new here or you've been here, please show some support on the channel, leave a like on the video, leave me a comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you are new. But as I said, a huge win for the Lakers coming off of the Luka revenge game. They had a little Texas two-step with the Houston Rockets coming into town, and Houston really did the Lakers a solid here because they could have tried to dictate their future a little more, but they sat a lot of their key rotational players and starters, and the Lakers pretty much just had to get into form, find their spots, and just not fuck up, basically. I mean, that to me, that would be my message if I was JJ Redick. Just don't mess this up. Don't go out there making a fool of yourself. You're the better team, and you've beaten them even at full strength. So what type of performance would it look like if the Lakers just said, you know what, we're gonna make this an interesting game. Let's put on a show. Let's give the fans a competitive. No. They had to beat this team and do it handedly, and it also allowed LeBron to check out of the game early. He did. It looked like he tweaked something towards the end of the game, but nothing serious apparently. JJ said he's fine. LeBron was doing little celebrations on the sideline, doing a little moonwalk, jumping up and down, and just being playful. It looked like him and Austin Reeves, were very excited about the Lakers clinching this third seed overall. And honestly, as a Laker fan, I think we're all very relieved to finally not have to see this team compete in the play-in tournament of all places. And there were a lot of analysts, including Charles Barkley, who just hates the Lakers, and it all stems from him having a failed trade to the Lakers back in the day. And it just seems like at the same time, he's one of those shock factor guys that's always saying something just way too crazy just to get a reaction. So when the Lakers first got Luka, it was easy for a lot of people to say that it just wouldn't work. They both need the ball in their hands too much, and it just won't work out. And obviously we see that a lot of those takes were just what they call L takes. They just weren't real. They just weren't what the reality is. Because when you have two players that, they need the ball in their hands to be most effective, but they're also two of the most unselfish players in the entire NBA. And you put those two together, plus AR, who's pretty much a baby version of those two, you're going to get a lot of success. As long as the bench players are making their shots, as long as the role players, Rui Hachimura, Dorian Finney-Smith, Gabe Vincent from time to time, as long as Jackson could catch a few lobs, this team could perform at the highest of high levels. And this was the easiest 140 that I've ever seen a team put up. And even Luka, he went 13 for 19 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, with 39 points, 7 assists, and 8 rebounds. It was the most easy 39-point damn near triple-double that I've ever seen someone put up. Honestly, I had to look, when they brought up his point total, I had to really kind of blink twice and be like, wait, he scored 39 tonight? It didn't look like he had to work that hard to get that 39, and that's what's crazy about it. He's rounding into form. He's finally playing up to par with what you saw in the finals last year. I guess not the finals as much. It looked like he was really drained going into the finals, but he had a bunch of injuries. He literally carried the Mavericks on his back. At least with the Lakers, we're not depending on Luka to be most of the offense, because unfortunately, one of my favorite players to watch, Kyrie, he kind of just didn't show up towards the end of that playoff run, and Luka was just trying to do a lot of heavy lifting by himself. So thankfully, for Luka's sake and for our sake as Laker fans, we have LeBron, we have Austin Reeves, and so to me, they have as good of a chance of any. But like I said, shout out to the Lakers, shout out to JJ Redick, who comes in, a rookie head coach, and it's going to go overlooked because a lot of people just never like to give either the Lakers credit, or JJ's got a lot of haters, coming into just the coaching position to begin with. I feel like a lot of media people were just hating on him to hate on him. A lot of former players just hated on him. George Karl, The former coach for the Nuggets, I just saw someone retweet his take saying that it was like a clown show for him. I don't quote me on that, but he said something to the effect of that, saying that, this coach that's hated by a bunch of people he goes from a podcast to being a head coach. Well, guess what? He got 50 wins in his first season. And if you look at the Lakers from a talent perspective, I mean, yeah, you have LeBron, you have Luka, you have Austin, but the fourth player is probably Rui. The fifth, I mean, it's up for debate. It could be Dorian Finney-Smith because of his impact. It could be Jackson Hayes because he fits alongside Luka and LeBron and AR. But it's not as clear as you would think. We have a big three, technically. We have a fourth really good player that I consider, one of the X factors on this team in Rui Hachimura. But to begin with, though, people didn't even want to give that roster credit after we gave up AD. The Lakers weren't supposed to be this good this soon with Luka, right? They thought we'd take a huge step back when it comes to defense, but instead the only step backs that were happening were Luka's three-pointers that are starting to fall at the craziest level. And we'll get into his play a little bit more, going into the playoffs and what I'm talking about there. But like I said, everyone's expecting the Lakers to take a huge step back when it comes to defense. They're not expecting JJ to be able to get a handle on the situation and handle the Luka trade and just round the guys and rally the troops and still have a successful season. A lot of people doomed us to the play-in, including Charles Barkley. That's why I brought him up. And despite all the odds of JJ being just a podcaster, not being taken serious, and people looking at it as a joke of a hiring, he's got 50 wins. And for the first time since 2020, the Lakers will be able to host it was before 2020. It was actually when Kobe was still playing that the Lakers are actually going to host a first-round matchup. They haven't had home court advantage in a playoff series because even with that, the bubble year where they ended up going to the bubble with COVID and all that, the Lakers weren't able to actually play in their home arenas for any of those games. So even those games where they were technically the home team, they weren't able to have the fans there. They were in Orlando in the bubble with all the digital fans, if anybody remembers that. But it was a crazy time, honestly, thinking back to that year. But like I said, for the first time since we had Kobe in the playoffs, the Lakers will finally be able to host a game at Staples Center or the Crypt or Crypto, whatever you want to call it. But the Lakers are finally able to host a first-round series once again. And during the Darvin Ham era, we basically just had to be in the play-in. And that's why I brought up 2020 is because for the first time since 2020, the Lakers win 50 and they also avoid the play-in, which to me is a big deal because, like I said, having to see our team play down to that level, the Lakers had to beat the Pelicans twice to even be the 7th seed a couple years back. To me, that was it's embarrassing to think about because you see the level that this team is performing at now. And it's where was this? I mean, the way I see it, I feel like the coaching and the ability to actually rally these guys up and coach them up. Tonight, JJ was soaked. I guess he got soaked by a bunch of water. The team poured all over him. He said it was about 8 buckets of water or something like that. And you could just tell the team embraces him as their leader. And yeah, LeBron's going to lead. Luka's going to lead. Reeves is going to lead. Some of the veteran presence, they're all going to do a part in that. But JJ has his team truly believing because I feel like he's the vocal leader of everything. And he's got some good troops on his side too. I've shouted out this coaching staff so much throughout the year because navigating past the AD for Luka trade and just having to sustain chemistry, sustain belief, that's not an easy job. And JJ and the coaching staff has done that. They've maximized the potential of their team, on defense, on offense, everything's starting to come together. And on top of all that, you have your best player, Luka Doncic, starting to round into form, playoff form, just that straight up assassin form. And we saw obviously that 45 piece that he hung on Dallas. Everyone was expecting that revenge narrative. Tonight, he didn't really have to go for 39. The Lakers won by they won by 31 points. He really didn't have to go off for 39. If he wanted to take just a little change of pace game, just kind of pass the ball more, not have to be the one to score all the time. Like, he could have done that, and the Lakers probably still would have won. Maybe it would have got a little more close. And Houston did come out kind of firing. I feel like that's just a sign of them being well coached, as well as them having a lot of desperate players that they played today. Like, they have a lot of rotation pieces that want more minutes going into the playoffs, and then they had a lot of players that don't even know if they're going to be back next year. So you could tell the team was desperate for what they had, but talent is always going to, as long as the talent's working hard, then they'll beat just whatever those players were on the court, because they weren't really the best of the best in terms of competition. So it looked a little shaky at first, but I knew the Lakers just had to start slowing the game down, just really make sure they remember who the hell they're playing against. And they did, and they were able to bounce back and obviously take over the game. But as I was saying, when it comes to JJ Redick and the coaching staff, we do have Nate McMillan, who to me is his defensive approach and everything, and he's got a little bit of an edge, a little bit of an asshole to him. Same with JJ. I feel like they implement basically like a hard-nosed defense, because I feel like we don't have the craziest talent on the defensive end, but all the schemes that they implement and just having that mindset of like we're gonna just basically, cut our teeth against these teams. We're gonna go deep into the trenches and win these games. That's the type of mindset that Nate McMillan brings to the coaching staff. And then Scott Brooks, I mean, he's really good at player development. That's what I've heard. He was coaching the Thunder when they had KD, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden when they made it to the finals all those years ago. So he's really good with younger players. He's really good with team chemistry, and obviously he helps JJ with the offense and stuff like that. So he's definitely really good. They also have Greg St. Jean, who's another one of JJ's, right-hand man. They got Bob Byer, another one of JJ's guys, and Lindsey Harding, who she was a former G League coach and a WNBA coach as well. So I feel like this coaching staff was strategically put together, and a lot of JJ's quote-unquote weaknesses as a rookie coach, they're covered up a lot when it comes to the people he surrounded himself by and the people the Lakers were willing to surround him by, because I feel like they gave him a lot of say in who he brings in. And I feel like JJ did a good job of making sure he put himself basically surrounded with a lot of experience and a lot of people that he could actually learn from, because sometimes people just surround themselves with yes men, and it's never a good idea, because then you're never wrong and you're never checked on your bullshit. So you got to give a shout out to the coaching staff, because the Lakers would not be in this position without them believing in everything that the coaches are telling them. All the instruction, all the schemes, all the camaraderie, like all that stuff matters. This team's been through a lot of shit. Like JJ's house burned down, his little neighborhood burned down where his kids go to school. He didn't take a single game off. And people just, to me, this is coach of the year material. To take a team that had this losing stench on them because of Darvin Ham. They lost to the Nuggets 2 years in a row, basically got swept 2 years in a row. You take over, you make them the 3rd seed. They don't look like the baby brother to the Nuggets anymore. Like, they've had a crazy stretch lately. I just think JJ Redick is the coach of the year. I don't care how you want to slice it. I understand that Cleveland, they're playing amazing this year, and, it's a crazy leap because they basically kept a lot of the same roster from last year, but now they're playing better. But when you say that out loud, think about it. Cleveland had most of the same roster from last year. What does that tell you? Continuity. I don't care if they're playing better than last year. They're kind of supposed to. They're supposed to grow as a team with that continuity. JJ's been through the trenches, having to start this year with D'Lo as his point guard. Now he's ending the year with Luka. And you might say, well, that's an upgrade. Okay, but you also lost AD, your defensive anchor, right? And you're making it work with Jackson Hayes and then small ball most of the time with Dorian Finney-Smith out there, right? So to me, all the things considered, with JJ's house burning down, with the trade, with all these different things that were out, basically, like I said, taking over the team that was basically not in a good place chemistry-wise, to reboot that with the biggest trade in NBA history happening, the California fires that were happening, like, to me, I feel like JJ deserves that. And I'll stand on that, to be honest. But as I said, this has been a crazy stretch for the Lakers. I saw a lot of things popping up on my timeline that were just it just gives you a lot of perspective on where this team sits right now and the potential they have for the playoffs coming up. So, since January 23rd, the Lakers are 16-6, which is good for the best record versus teams over 500. Now, what does that tell you? It tells me we don't got to be afraid of anybody in the playoffs, because if you have the best record against teams above 500 with this amount of time in between, from the end of January to the end of the season, to March right now, to April, I'm just saying that gives you all the confidence in the world. I feel like they're winning more often than they're not against the best teams in the league, which means that now they're going to be in the playoffs. And yeah, there could be the fear of them playing down to a competition depending who they play in the first round, but at the same time, they pretty much are going to have a very competitive series off the bat, and they have home court advantage, thankfully. So the series should be theirs to take. They should be obviously the third seed. They're going to be playing the 6, right? And I'll get into how that might shape up. But to me, seeing a stat like that and knowing that, okay, we got home court, we play good against these teams above 500, I just feel like the Lakers are ready for the playoffs. There's not going to be a random Tuesday game that they're going against the Hornets on, or the Jazz, or something like that. A game that just they don't feel motivated by. All those easy games are done with. They're able to just focus on the best teams in the league. So, to me, that's encouraging. And I saw another stat that popped up, which is, I didn't expect to see this, but over the past 30 days, about a month, Luka Doncic is the highest rated player in the NBA, and Austin Reeves is the 5th highest player in the NBA. And that's via the Real Sports app. So to me, that's insane, because Luka, I told you guys, he's rounding into form. He's looking like playoff Luka. He's looking like he's ready to take over and lead this. And he doesn't even have to do as much as he did in Dallas, I feel like. I feel like they had a lot of depth there, but at the same time, they didn't have a LeBron James there. They didn't have even a Reeves there. The way Kyrie was playing, I feel like Reeves is a playoff elevator. And, he elevates his game in the playoffs. And Kyrie seemed like he kind of, I don't know, he just kind of took his game down a few pegs in the playoff last year. So, I mean, Luka's got 2 other guys that can help him. That can help him carry the load and not have to feel like it's all on him, right? So to me, Luka's play coming up and him being the highest rated player in the last month, he's rounding into form at the perfect time. And then another thing, he's the fastest player in Lakers history to hit 100 3-pointers. And that might just sound like a little niche stat, but it just shows you like, okay, this guy's barely a Laker for not even a year yet, not even 6 months yet. And he's already setting he already was the fastest player to reach 50 3-pointers. That was probably like less than a month ago. Now he's got up to 100 and he's breaking that record. So it's insane. Like I said, even tonight, he looked like it was just the easiest damn near 40-point triple-double. It would have been a 40-point triple-double if it was a competitive game. He didn't even have to play like the last, rest of the fourth quarter. So this team's looking scary. And as far as who we might play, that is a very interesting and complicated scenario that's going to play out by Sunday. And there's way too many scenarios. There's literally 8 scenarios that could play out. But just to make it more simple, it's looking more and more like the Lakers are going to end up playing the Golden State Warriors in the first round, which I didn't really want when I first thought about it, because I don't think the Warriors are better. I really don't. But they have experience. Steph Curry's been in the trenches. Jimmy Butler's been to the finals in the trenches as well. And you have Steve Kerr, who's won championships with Steph Curry as his best player, and then with KD as his best player. So they have that experience. They got the dog that is Draymond Green. I got to give him love. It's annoying to play against him, but you got to respect him, right? They have experience, and that's what kind of makes me a little like, I would rather avoid them if we could. But it's looking like that's the most likely matchup. The second most likely matchup, the Denver Nuggets, which there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of people have a vendetta against them. There's a lot of revenge narrative there. And we showed we could beat them. They just fired Mike Malone, who supposedly was the Lakers' daddy at one point. That's what they're trying to say at the press conference or the parade when they won the championship. Now he's gone, which is crazy because they just won the championship a couple years ago. But chemistry-wise, they could be a little thrown off. It could be easy pickings. But honestly, with home court advantage, I'm not, just bring on whoever. It's either we're going to beat one of these good teams or we're not. We're going to have to play them one way or another if they were going to be that competitive come playoff time, right? So it's a little scary, but the playoffs are meant to be. And with the Lakers having that 16-6 record, right? When you have that type of record against all these above 500 teams, here's the crazy thing. They're 16-6, right? You need 16 wins in the playoffs, which would be winning 4 series to win the NBA championship. So if you're telling me that so far since the end of January, they're 16-6 against these above 500 teams, which are the best teams in the league. If you're telling me they were 16-6, that means they could lose, what, 2 games in every series and still be okay? To me, that just speaks for itself. I'm very excited because everything gets way more simplified. You need 16 wins. That's all you got to think about. You don't got to count the losses. You got to count the wins. And as long as you're winning more than you're losing, you can win a championship. And that's what I think. Even Austin Reeves said it in the postgame. He was saying, we can win a championship. Everybody got that on their mind. And to me, who am I to say they can't win? I've been saying that they could win this. I've been giving credit to JJ. I've been giving credit to the coaching staff, even when there was tough losses mixed in there. When the chemistry was being built up, when Luka had a crazy turnaround, because in that Warriors game, it was a little cause for concern. It looked like he might not be 100%. And since that Warriors game, all I've seen him is elevate and elevate. Then we saw the peak in that Dallas game. And then we saw today, which he didn't even have to, like I said, he did not have to score 39 points, but he went off, and he made the game so much easier. LeBron, even though he got hurt, so that's probably why his minutes were lower, he also, you want to rest him, and now here's the beautiful thing before I end this episode. The Lakers don't even have to play their main guys on Sunday. And I don't think they will, honestly, because either way, your guys are going to have about a week off, right? So might as well just rest them. It's not like them playing that game is going to keep them fresh when they're still going to have a week after that. So to me, let the guys rest. It's an early game. Let Bronny start. I think that could be poetic. He starts the game, the first game of the season, with his dad. They have that little, sequence together. And then let him start on Sunday. He started he didn't start the first game, but he had a little bit of playing time next to his dad. Sunday, give him a full start. Just let him go. Let him do his thing. Let his dad rest. His dad might not even be there because he might stay in LA now. He might not even travel to Portland. There's really no point unless he just wants to be there, to support the people that are playing, or if he does want to see Bronny. But I'm just saying, you really don't have to play your starters. The Lakers have about a week off, and then we'll find out, though. Sunday, after the Laker game, I believe. Yeah. They play an early game Sunday. So after that game, later in that night, the Lakers will know who they're going to play. So that's going to be an interesting, reveal, because now you got a whole week to prepare. And whether it's the Warriors, whether it's the Nuggets, and there's like a slight chance if one scenario goes perfect that the Lakers play the Timberwolves, then, you got time. You got nothing but time to game plan, and that's when everything gets more simple, because you're game planning for one team, and it's just a chess match. And I believe in this team. I believe in the coaching staff. The Lakers, they've defied a lot of odds this year, and it's been one of the more fun seasons, or one of the most fun seasons that I've ever experienced as a fan. It brought me back to do this podcast. The Luka trade reignited my fandom to a level where I want to talk about it, whether it's 10 people watching on the videos, 30, 40. When Luka did get traded, that video is up over 100. And it just feels good to just express my excitement for this team. No matter how many people want to tune in or not, I'm pretty passionate about this. And so I just want to say shout out to everyone that has been, supporting. I probably won't have a video for a while, but I will have one previewing the next series. That's what I will do, because there's not going to be much to talk about with the Portland game. I believe everybody that's important is going to rest. So the next video will be a preview of the Lakers series, their first round series, and how they can, every other scenario that comes from that, because we don't know the full bracket yet. So once we know that, we'll go over the Lakers first round matchup, as well as other scenarios and the best path that they could take to end up getting there. So, all the other matchups around the Western Conference, we'll be able to break those down and say who I think is going to win and how this affects the Lakers. So we'll get into that. in the next video. But as I said, if you've been here even for a couple videos every now and then when I show up on the feed, like whatever it is, anyone that's watched, anyone that's supported, you know, I don't get many comments, but I still know people are watching in spirit, right? So the ghost watchers out there, shout out to y'all. It's been a fun season, and I just can't wait to break down a lot more. I can't wait to, you know, get excited about this team in the playoffs. There's nothing like Lakers playoff basketball, and that crowd in LA is going to be going crazy. Luka's going to, like I said, he's rounding into form at the perfect time. The sky's the limit, and I can see it. 16 wins for the rest of their lives. This team could win the championship. Imagine the story, man. Imagine the story of Luka getting traded in the middle of the season, 1 year, not even a full year, removed from being in the finals with another team, gets his heart broken, gets to play with one of his childhood idols in LeBron, and then they somehow make it to the finals and win in their first year. I might be getting ahead of myself, but I'm just saying, poetry in motion. Like, that would just be the basketball gods. Like, let me give y'all something to smile about. You know what I mean? So anyways, I'm just yapping like I always tend to do towards the end of these. Sometimes I just don't know where to end them. But now when I catch myself talking too much, that's when I usually have to do it. So like I said before, if you're new here or you've been here, please support the channel. Leave a like on the video, comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you are new. But that's going to do it for the Lake Show Flow, and we'll see you guys next time.